Greetings to everyone. This is Nahu TV. My name is Professor Brook Hailu, and this is a special edition, a special program on women and girls. And I have a very distinguished guest, and she is Madam Ambassador Mrs. Tamara Mona from the Swiss Federation, from the Swiss Federation. Thank you for your time, and thank you for being with us.
My pleasure.
Avec plaisir, my pleasure as well. Madam Ambassador Mona, what is the situation of women and girls in the Swiss Federation? Thank you.
As you might know, Switzerland was a bit of a latecomer by giving political rights, voting rights to women only in the early 70s. And since then, I would say step by step, we managed to get legal equality between the gender through the years. And nowadays, I would say there is no legal discrimination anymore against women in Switzerland. However, I think the bigger challenge really is to reach equal opportunities for women in their lives, in their professions, in society, generally speaking. So we are certainly still challenged in that field, although there is a legal equality established. But in reality, there are still less opportunities for women when it comes to profession, career path, payment, salary payment, but also in terms of, sort of being vulnerable to violence as well. There is quite an effort by the Swiss government, the cantonal governments, the city governments to take measures to protect women and girls more effectively against violence in the Swiss society. Especially domestic violence is still very much a topic.
Thank you very much, Dr. Brook. I'm delighted to join this program. In Japan, the equality of man and woman are guaranteed in Constitution. But in reality, it's not quite equal. So the government is trying to have the women's empowerment, women's advancement for some time. And actually, internationally, Japan has been hosting World Assembly for Women. And it's going to resume after the COVID. This year on December, we were going to have the international celebrities or the powerful women to get together to talk about the empowerment of women. But looking back into the Japanese situation of women and girls, for instance, at the Japanese universities, we have about 50-50 ratio of men and women. And then as for the women is concerned, this year we have 1.2 million female students at the university, which is the largest number in our history, despite the fact that Japanese population for the young people are declining gradually these years. And when I was a young student in Japanese education curriculum, only girls had this home economics to learn how to cook, how to raise children, how to mend their clothes. But now, it is both for boys and girls. So my son had to take this course and study how to raise a baby and how to mend and so forth.
Really?
So I think it is good for the man and woman to take care of the home activities together. It's not just for the woman to take care. And for the government, we are also promoting the ratio of women workers. And right now, it's already over 30%, and each year it's increasing. And in terms of the politicians, we have a very, very strong governor of Tokyo, Madam Koike. And Tokyo is 14 million in its population. So she is the one who leads this 14 million people, and she successfully completed the Tokyo Olympic and Paralympics last year.
Wonderful. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for the, in terms of the economic leaders, we still need more and more female economic leaders. So there is a movement that the major companies in Japan are trying to have young cadets to learn to become a leader in the future. and some experienced Japanese female business leaders would teach those young people, provide experiences, provide lessons, and take them some foreign countries to know about other female leaders across the world in the business area. And I think these would bear fruits in the future.
Thank you, Professor, and let me first thank you for this opportunity to be here. This is a privilege. And about my country, Finland, which is of course far away, it's in the northern Europe, but I would say that we have a very good record for gender equality. And always in international comparisons, Finland is among the best performers. And what is behind that? One quite interesting thing is that in Finland, women got the political rights, the full political rights, as a first nation in the world. That means not only voting rights, but also the right to stand for elections. And this happened already in 1906. So for more than 100 years in Finland, women have been strong in the politics, in decision making, and in many sectors of the society, and they have been there themselves to promote the equality. So that is one important thing. And another important thing, I think, is that in Finland, both girls and boys have a very good access to good quality education. And I think that is a fundament also for our society. But on the other hand, we can take it from the other perspective and say that without women's role, without strong women, I don't think our country would have achieved what it has achieved. So we are a prosperous welfare nation, but without women's role, I doubt we would be so far. But of course, I have to say Finland is not perfect either, so we have our own challenges and we still have to work very hard, especially when we are facing new situations like the COVID-19 or technological development, so we have to make sure that we don't make any setbacks.
The situation of women and girls in Morocco have went through a very long journey, Professor. Since our independence in 1956, we went through different steps. We have also to underline here the strong political will of the king at that time, the grandfather of the current king, the King Mohammed V, who gave the example through his own daughter, the princess, Lala Aisha, and in the early 60s, and who went to deliver a speech on behalf of his father.
Okay.
So that was a very strong signal given to the Moroccan population, but not only, to the Arab world and the world in general. So then we also witnessed creation of the Women Association in 1969, always presided by a princess as well, and it's the Union of Moroccan Women in this 1969. That is the oldest organization take care about women conditions, women improvement, and so on. And we have to say that under the reign of His Majesty Mohammed V, may his soul rest in peace, under the reign of His Majesty Hassan II, may his soul rest in peace, 61-99, and under the current reign of His Majesty Mohammed VI, may God assist him, we have been going through a very long journey, but a very progressive journey. As I told you, we have started through this signal given to allowing the princess delivering a speech with a very Western attire, and to end up in the last 2 decades with a lot of legal framework improvement, and through also the last constitution approved in 2011, in which, in the chapter 19, the states recognize its responsibility to give a parity between male and female in every domain.
Wonderful.
And finally, in 2021, we had also the privilege to see the parliament adopting a law in which it is stated that it is mandatory for public organisms to have a quota given to women in terms of political empowerment and to lead public enterprises with different steps, 30% by 2024 and then 30% in 2027. We are currently around 20%.
Wonderful.
So all this to show you that there is a progressive dynamic since our independence to end up with a mandatory law to have quotas to give for women empowerment.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to say that I'm so happy to be celebrating the 10th anniversary of the International Day of the Girl Child here in Ethiopia. I was in New York 10 years ago when this resolution was being accepted, and Turkey, my country, was very active in the resolution, in having this day done. So for us, it is a very important thing. And I'm proud to say that in Turkey, we are quite exemplary in the rights of the girl, the rights of the woman. Our founder, Atatürk, already gave Turkish women the right to vote very early on, much before most European countries. The Constitution both ensures that women and men have equal rights, and the rights of women are among the priorities. Of course, there's room for improvement. Like in all countries, no country is perfect in this regard. We still have gender-based violence, and we still need to increase the rate of women in parliament, in politics. But for example, being a part of the Turkish Foreign Ministry, I am very proud to say now that we are at a 50-50, men and women equal in the diplomatic service. Women ambassadors, it's around 30% of ambassadors are women. And in Africa especially, in many important African countries, 12, the ambassadors are women. Our two directors generals in Ankara, who are the bosses for Africa, are both women. So I'm very proud to say that. We focus a lot on education issues, because if you can't give girls the equal right to education, then they won't be equal as women. So we give a lot of incentives. The government has a lot of policies, gives incentives to especially poorer families in rural environments in order to ensure that the families send their girls to school.
Achieving gender equality is a global challenge, not just for countries like Ethiopia, but also in Australia. But the Australian government is very strongly committed to improving the lives of women and girls, both in Australia, but also internationally. So if you're a girl born in Australia at the moment, you can expect to live to about 85 years of age, which is about 10 years longer than the worldwide average. And those girls should expect to be able to participate in all activities in life. You know, in Australia, about 120 years ago, we introduced the right for women to vote in federal elections and also to run for parliament. We were the first country in the world to do that. We don't yet have gender parity in our parliament, but we have about 38% of the members of the House of Representatives are women. In Australia, if you're a girl, it's expected that you will finish your year 12, your end of high school, and now more girls than boys finish year 12. And we see girls' education as really central to the empowerment of women and girls. We also have a Minister for Women. She's also the Minister for Finance, so she's in the Cabinet. And we have an Office of Women in our Prime Minister's Department, and their job is together to create policies and programs that will improve the lives of women, including in areas of economic security, in reducing domestic and sexual violence, in lifting the number of women leaders in all areas, including public and private sector. And in fact, in our own foreign ministry, we now have 42% of our ambassadors are women. But also, importantly, trying to look at what the barriers are for workforce participation and encouraging girls to aspire to doing anything that they wish in their career. And finally, participating in a lot of international fora that focus on girls and women's rights. So in Australia, we're doing a lot of things focusing on women and girls, and I think the situation is looking very positive.
Very good. That's awesome. Thank you, Madam Ambassador. My next question would be, what's the situation of women and girls in education, in science, and in technology in Australia? Thank you.
So in Australia, the data shows that girls have a lower participation rate and a lower aspiration in STEM subjects, so science, technology, engineering and mathematics, compared to boys. And in schools, they have a lower participation rate. And so what that means is they're less likely to study in those fields at the tertiary sector, and it also means they're less likely to work in those occupations. So what the government is doing, it's working closely with academia, with the education sector, with industry and with communities to try and build the engagement of girls in the STEM areas. And they're doing this through around sort of 4 key strategies. One is trying to have more effective messaging around what girls can do and to help girls envision themselves in STEM occupations. The government has appointed a Women in STEM ambassador, and her role is to really mobilise action in that area. We're also trying to look at eliminating some of the barriers and creating more opportunities for girls in those occupations, and trying to promote women-only education opportunities. So, for example, we have an initiative called She Maps, which is using drone technology to engage girls in learning more about technology and the environment and mapping. And we have women in engineering residential courses. So they're women only, and that's a way of trying to help build their confidence. We're also doing work with parents and families to challenge some of the stereotypes, to encourage them to support their daughters in seeking studies and careers in those occupations, and trying to connect role models with girls. So girls can actually see, they can visualise that women can work in these occupations.
Generally speaking, I would say that women and girls are well represented, equally represented in the education system. Girls and women are equally educated as men and boys in Switzerland. However, when you look at statistics, you see that women are particularly, and looking at statistics at the university level, you see that women are particularly well represented when it comes to humanities and the arts. But in fields like science or technology, the so-called MINT departments, you would see that women are clearly underrepresented. Sometimes not even a third of students are female. And I'm very, very glad to see that many universities in Switzerland, they have taken particular measures to address this issue. They, for example, open their doors for even small girls, primary school or secondary school. They invite them for one day to follow a female scientist, to look into a laboratory, to follow them on what they do every day. They do research with them. They try to attract the interest of already young girls, to try to make them aware that there is a whole big world of interesting scientific work you could do as a woman as well. And a particularly promising project I discovered lately is an association which gets support by the Swiss government as well, in putting up a structured mentoring program. So young women interested in science and technology, they can register for this mentoring program, and then they get a mentor, a female leader in the field of science on their side to accompany them into the world of science. And I think that is particularly interesting.
Indeed.
excellent question. And maybe as a background, I can say that in Finland, generally, women are better and more educated than men. And Finland is among the most digitalized nations in the world. And now we come to the challenges. I must admit that in Finland, when we, for example, look at the number of girls studying technology, we are lagging behind. And the number of women being involved in science, that is still too small. So we really have to work on that. But also the Finnish government is very committed to increase this gap, this gender gap in science and technology, and we are working on it domestically and also in international fora. So we are really working with a lot of commitment to close the gender gap, to give girls the opportunity to access technology, access internet. That is, of course, very important since our lives are filled with technology and our daily lives are just linked to the use of internet and so on. There is another very important aspect which is linked to technology and girls, and that is the safety of internet. So Finland is really committed to fight against the misuse and even like harassment and violence online that happens nowadays. So that is an important factor, and we have to really make internet available for all in full, including also girls and boys with disabilities.
Thank you, Professor. Science and technology has always been perceived and also managed in my country as the way to move forward for the entire society. Science and technology is very important for our economies, and it's very important for our country to move forward for the advancement, for the development of the country. We have now around, in that field of education, we have around, if I have to talk about girls going to science and technology university, we have around 20% of students going there, but still not enough, because we believe that it is underrepresented. I mean, the female gender is underrepresented because we have to comply with this law that has been adopted in 2021. But we have, meanwhile, we witness many female operating as engineers, operating in many fields of technology and science.
There too, we're trying to make it even better. But just to start off, I have to say that in Turkey, 45% of academicians, 46% of pharmacists, and 44% of lawyers are all women. So it's almost half in all of these very important job fields. There's also, female students are given incentives in order to study science and technology. They're given additional incentives, more scholarships, etc., because we want more women there. But already, we are at 50% for most of these professions.
Yes. We have to admit that in the area of science technology education, the ratio of female students is not as high as the male students. I would say 25 to 30% for the science technology, and maybe around 15% for engineering. But after the graduation, they are given the equal opportunities to work and contribute. And so far, we have 2 female astronauts who went to the space together with NASA, the Japanese ladies.
Great.
Already, yeah, two female astronauts. Okay. And then we cooperated with India to develop a subway system. Okay. But one of the main engineers was a woman. And she has all those expertise, and she taught how to build and how to maintain the New Delhi metro. And after completing, she's also working in various parts in the world in this area. We also have the world's oldest software programmer, who is 81 years old and made an iPhone program called Hinadan. That's another Japanese lady. Yes. And in the car manufacturing area, we have a female designer. Based on her experience as a mother, she changed the design of the car produced by Nissan, so that the back door can be opened widely and easy to put the baby carrier.
Carry inside.
Yeah.
Wow.
And also easy to park. So based on her own experience. So those things can be also used. And I'm happy that their experiences will be also shared by younger generation. Actually, those astronauts or famous people in the STEM area are visiting the high school, the junior high schools, and talking to the girls about the wonderful future they can have by choosing the science and technology mathematics area.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for answering that. And my last question, Madam Ambassador, is if you would share a message with millions and millions of Ethiopian girls and women, what would it be, your message? Thank you.
I would say, girls, be ambitious, and where there is a will, there is a way. And also, heaven helps those who help themselves. I'd like to talk about my own experience. I was born in the 1960s when Japan was still not a rich country. We are recovering from the war. And I was born in a very rural area. And my parents are not rich. So my mother had to work. It's not her choice. It is a necessity to make some money to support the family because my father's income was not good enough. So we didn't even have a TV. Well, my neighbor had a TV. So
wow.
I visited their house and started fighting regarding which program to see. So my mother was so embarrassed that we didn't have a TV, and the child was going to the neighbor and having a fight. And my father had a very, very traditional view that the women, girls, don't need education. And I had a younger brother, and he really wanted to have younger brother to thrive, and I have not really counted on. But I felt that I'm a woman. Yes, I'm a girl, but I'm a human being. So I wanted to do what I wanted to do. So what can I do? I studied hard, and then I continued to challenge my father's views. And in the end, I was successful in becoming a diplomat, as I am now. And I didn't go to a famous private schools, but I went wherever I could and studied as I could. So if you have any dream, don't give up. Believe in yourself and work hard. So there will be some way.
Oh, well, what kind of a wisdom-filled message. Thank you, Madam Ambassador.
First, if I may, I would say that in Finland, half of the Finnish ambassadors are female. So we are getting there. But I would have 3 messages to the Ethiopian girls. And one is an equally for boys, men and women. So I would like to remind everybody that women's rights are human rights. They are enshrined in the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, in all international agreements and legislation of most of the countries in the world, including Ethiopia and Finland alike. So please remember that there's no choice. This is a must. So equal rights belong to all of us, including girls and women. So that is my message number 1. My message number 2 would be, and we know this from our own experience in Finland as well, so don't let the attitudes of other people and the prevailing stereotypes to prevent you from fulfilling your aspirations. If there has not been a female role model to clear the path for you, so maybe you yourself might be the role model for others. And then my last point, which I would really also emphasize, is that please, all girls, it's crucial that you support each other. It's important that also girls join each other to encounter discrimination, and instead of mutual competition and jealousy, there should be like cooperation and solidarity, because that makes everybody strong.
Very true. Thank you, Madam Ambassador.
My message is to believe that it is possible first. That is my message for girls, because having faith of what we would like to do, being sure that one day we'll be able to make our own choice for our own life is very important. This is for the girls, for the mothers and fathers. Education, very important. Education is the base. Parity given by law is very important, but it starts from the education. Education at home, education in communities, education at schools. To let boys respecting girls, to let girls respecting themselves and respecting also their own choice to move forward and to believe. So education is the base, very important at every level, home, communities, schools, and then the legal framework. Then the last word that I would like to share, not only as a diplomat, but as an African, Arab woman, mother. We all know that in our continent, our societies are very conservative. My society is conservative, but it doesn't mean that it is closing the doors. Being conservative doesn't mean being static. We still can move, but we need inspiring people, but also education, as I said before. So my desire, my very ardent desire for Ethiopian girls and women, as well as for the Moroccan girls and women, is to see one day almost a perfect parity between men and women, and also seeing women doing what the generation of women and girls before were looking for, and concretizing that desire.
Madam Ambassador, thank you so much for coming and for sharing your knowledge with us.
I would say be passionate in what you do, be ambitious when you set your goals, your objectives. In implementing them or going for them, try to be smart, try to be strategic as well. And what I think is also very important is try to find role models, you know, in your family, in your circle of friends, in the school you go to, wherever you are. Try to look out for role models and get inspired by them. Female leaders who are ready to share their experiences and their lessons, and perhaps also can give you advice in how to go about it.
Madam Ambassador Tamara Mona, thank you for your sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us. Thank you for coming. We wish you all the best in your stay in Ethiopia.
Thank you very much. It has been my pleasure.
First, I want to congratulate Ethiopia. When I first arrived here 4 years ago, this big principle of equality for women had started. Half of the cabinet, women, the wonderful president, her excellency is a role model for all Ethiopian girls and women, I think. And just in daily life, I see the Ethiopian woman strong, in the forefront of society, not weak at all. So I think Ethiopia is definitely a role model. And I think they should simply continue on this path, and especially the wonderful young women entrepreneurs I see, bursting with ideas, bright eyes, Ethiopian girls doing and making sure that Ethiopia's name is known worldwide. So I congratulate them.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Ambassador.
I have a very strong message to Ethiopian girls. I would like to say to you, dream big. Imagine that you can do anything. There is nothing that your gender prevents you from doing. So first of all, be ambitious. Secondly, have courage. Thirdly, identify and connect with role models that you respect. And finally, focus on your education, because education really is central. It's vital to your empowerment. And I might just give one more message that I think is an important one. Your journey to adulthood is probably a little bit more challenging than it was for me and my generation because of the influence of social media and that social media sometimes can create very negative images of what a girl is and is meant to be. And my advice to you would be to seek out peers and friends and others that you trust and want to connect with to help build more positive images and messages about what it means to be a girl. You've got very, very strong role models in Ethiopia, in all walks of life, in the judiciary, in industry, in sport, and the arts. So be ambitious, dream big, and best wishes to you all.
Oh, that was powerful. Thank you for this very, very strong and precise and clear message. Thank you, Madam Ambassador. Greetings. This is Professor Brook Hailu from Now TV, Diplomatic Corner program. We have broadcasted and aired a very, very special program on women and girls. And in this program had actively participated women distinguished ambassadors resident in Ethiopia. These ambassadors come from Africa, from Oceania, from Europe, and other places as well. And they have shared with us about the situation of women and girls in their own respective countries and their achievements. And also they have discussed with us the challenges of women and girls in their respective country. And they have also expressed with us their wishes about women and girls in Ethiopia. They have given us their wisdom as mothers and as wives on top of being diplomats. We do hope in Now TV you have enjoyed this program. We do hope that you have learned something out of it, and we intend to continue to organize for you these kinds of special programs, so stay tuned. This is Brook Hailu from Now TV, special program on Diplomatic Corner. Thank you for watching us. Please send your comments and questions to our social media as well as directly to us. Thank you for watching us. Keep on watching Now TV. Thank you. Goodbye. Until I see you next time.